Holy shit, what a ride. We finally have arrived. What am I talking about? This is episode 100. And first and foremost, let me just say from the bottom of my heart, thank you for each and every single one of you that have been with us since the beginning, for all of your love, for all of your support, for all the video views, for all of the emails, for all the phone calls, for being guests on the show. We would not have continued if it wasn't for the love and support of the community, of all of you dominators out there that take your time to listen to our guests, to listen to me, and to really participate in the show. This is our 100th episode, and I wanted to go ahead and make this really special, at least for me. And I think that this episode is really going to be special for a lot of people. Ironically enough, we're not really going to be talking about restoration. Really, we're not going to be talking about drying equipment. We're not going to be talking about dehues. We're not going to be talking about project managers. We're not going to be talking about, how to balance your books. We're not going to be doing any of that in this episode. And I think that this episode could not have come at a better time. And we're going to be joined today by one of our very, very, very first guests. Actually, in my mind, he is like episode 1 because he was actually the first person that I invited onto the show. And you'll hear once we get into it why I'm so grateful for him agreeing to do it. If you probably would have said no, it would have taken the trajectory of the podcast in a totally different direction. In other words, he was really one of my first wins in my mind of having a really successful guest. And his name is Idan Shpizear. He's the founder of 911 Restoration, and just an amazing human being. And today what we're going to talk about is we're going to be talking about your true self. We're going to be talking about getting rid of the noise, all of the external noise and all of the internal noise that a lot of us suffer as entrepreneurs, as project managers, as fathers, as husbands, like as a human being. We all have all of this noise that is constantly bombarding us. And we're going to be talking about that and how Idan deals with this. And, we're going to be talking about very lightly about his success because, again, on our previous episode, in which I will leave a link in the video description and in the show notes below, we talk a lot about his success, right? He's got 100 plus, franchises. He's making all this money. He's got, this great culture. He's gone on and, done several, other business ventures. Like, the guy is successful and he's loved by his team. So we know that he has all of this success. We didn't really want to focus too much on that. What we wanted to focus on was some of the negatives, some of the downsides, some of the things that have prevented him from being successful. And it always goes back to identifying your true self, getting rid of the noise. And that is the theme of this podcast. And I think that for a lot of us, the timing could not be any better. And I hope that this particular show finds you in a place in your life or in your career to where you really needed to hear it and to just get back to who you are and being the best version of you. And that's going to be the big takeaway from this particular podcast. We're going to be talking about rituals and how to get in the good, physical state, mental state, in order for you to show up in the world the way that you really wanted to show up and you can be your true self. And again, really excited for you to be here now. If you're catching this for the very first time, this is our 100th episode. If you've been here from the beginning, a huge and genuine thank you from the bottom of my heart. If we've added any value to you, your business, your organization, I just ask you for a couple of things. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and rate us on whatever your podcasting platform is, wherever you're listening to this now. If you're just listening to the audio, just go ahead and rate us and please write us a review. If you are watching on YouTube or you're watching anywhere else, do me a favor. It would really help get our message and our videos out there to more people. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. It would genuinely mean the world to us, and that would be the best present that you can give us on our 100th episode. Without further ado, here is Idan. Let's go.
Welcome to the Restoration Domination Podcast, where you learn actionable advice that moves the needle and helps service-based businesses dominate. Here's your host, Rico Garcia Jr.
All right, Dominators, what is going on? Buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride. Idan, first and foremost, man, thank you so much for jumping back on the show. If you don't know, this is going to be episode 100. And for a very, very long time, I was like, man, I want Idan to be episode 100 to kind of celebrate our 100th, podcast. Thank you. Idan, thank you so much. Are you ready to help us dominate?
Absolutely. I think you already does do. So yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
just here to enjoy the show.
Thank you. So for all those dominators out there, if you're watching and or if you're listening, let me tell you something that I don't think I've ever said publicly, and I'll say this today. And a lot of people say things to kind of make other people feel good. I don't really feel that I'm that person. Out of all of the podcasts that I've done, all of my guests, I believe that they've been great guests without question. But when I first interviewed Idan, once the recording was over, I turned over to my wife and I was like, honey, I totally get why this guy is successful. And I genuinely believe that he deserves all the success in the world. And I understand why his people love him. And it's because of the peace that you bring when you explain things, how, first of all, how down to earth you really make your message, I feel it's hard for people not to feel how much you care about them as a human being. And what they need, which I think is really amazing. And we were off camera chit-chatting for like 30 minutes, and Idan just can't help himself, right? He's like asking me about my business and like where I am mentally and emotionally and all this other stuff. And all of his advice is great. And I think that this is exactly what this episode is going to be about. But first and foremost, before we get into that, for those that may not be familiar with who you are and what it is that you do, give us like the quick little intro and let everybody know what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So as you're my accent, I'm originally from Israel, moved here around 2001, 2002, got into carpet cleaning. From carpet cleaning, got into the restoration, figure out how Google works. This was around 2003, 2004. Really mastered the lead generation part of the business. And through that, starting to collaborate with small businesses around the country so that it's working very well. Then at one point, we decided to franchise the company. Fast forward to today, we have over 100 offices around the US. A lot of our owners have more than one territory. And then in between, I dealt with a few different startups that I started, SaaS platform. You see behind me, Get Out of the Truck. That's another idea, involved in real estate and a few other things. And that's kind of my 35 seconds story for today.
Intro. Yeah. Which, by the way, I would encourage you, if you haven't heard our original podcast, there's going to be a link in the video description as well as in the show notes where you can go ahead and catch up on our very, very first interview. Again, Idan I was just telling him off camera, and I genuinely mean this. I shot really high when I first started this podcast because I had read some of Idan's stories, and I don't know, something about his story just resonated with me. And I was like, you know what? When I started the podcast, I was like, if I could get him on the show, I think it would be amazing. And I just wanted to publicly say thank you so much for agreeing to do that very first episode, because I think that whenever anybody starts something new, we need to have that win. And in my book, without question, you were certainly that big win for me, because I didn't think, I was like, this guy's probably going to say no. He's got 100 somewhat franchises. Like, who is Rico Garcia? And you were so gracious, and you spent so much time with me on that very first podcast that I just publicly wanted to say thank you, because we probably, if it probably wouldn't have been for that, or if that would have, taken me off course, we probably maybe here, maybe not, who knows? But yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, which typically I have everybody do like an onboarding form nowadays, which is a very different process to when you originally came on the show, right? What do you wish that more business owners knew, whether they're just getting into business, or if they're having second thoughts about business, or they're a little jaded about how long they've been in business?
So there's a few things that I see a lot more lately. I think it's because also the level of involvement that I have because of my extra time and everything. So I see a lot of people are just getting lost to the noise in their head, right? And that was part of our conversation before the podcast. People are just not aware to the power that they have. People are just giving up because they're expecting to get answers that will come as you go through the process in the beginning. So this is the first thing, right? Sometimes I speak with people that are thinking about their ideas for about a year. 2 weeks ago, I spoke with somebody that's been thinking about his idea for 4 years. And I'm asking him, why don't you take the first step? Like, get things going. Idan, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, figure out what? Yeah. What are you trying to get? All the answers? I don't have all the answers. Yeah. And I'm in the business for so long, and I built a few different businesses. Mm-hmm. There's a very basic things that you need to know, but you need to get going. And by get going, you're going to start learning so much about who you are, what's working for you, what's your strength, what your weaknesses, who is other people that you need on your team. So this is for the people that kind of want to get going in business. There is a very important part in getting going, in taking the first steps. And the second part is, and this is with a lot of existing businesses, it's 99.9% of the time, the answer and your next best step in growing the business, it's right in front of you.
Right.
But because of the noise in our head, is our limited beliefs, we are going in circles. We're going back. We're closing a business. We're starting 5 other businesses. We're letting people go because we don't really understand their talent. We come to the office. We're not really clear. We don't know what is it that we're trying to achieve. We're losing people. We try to return people. It's really, for me, and this is a lot of the work that I've been doing with some business owners in the past year, it's really taking your level of execution to the next level, right? And I have so many examples. I have people that I had a call, and I'll give a quick example. I had a call last week with somebody we're starting the call. He's telling me that he have a cash flow issues, and he's now been working for the past 4 months on a plan to present it to a few investors so he can cure the cash flow issues that we had at the bank. I'm asking, okay, something here that doesn't make sense to me. Your business is only $600,000-$700,000 in revenue. Why are you doing all that? Like, how much money do you need to have in cash flow in your business to be able to kind of build the business? Oh, Idan, I need about $40,000. I said, okay, you just spend 4 months building a presentation so you can raise from investor $40,000 to have it in your business. Let's leave that for a second. Let's talk about your business. And what I'm discovering, that he have $500,000 in collection, that he's not really taking care of it. Mm-hmm. So think about it. The $40,000 that he needs lie down right in front of him because he have $500,000 in collection. It's probably, if he's going to spend 2-3 hours on the phone with people that need to pay him, he's going to be able to get the $40,000-$50,000. But instead of that, he went all the way around, start creating a plan of how to raise $40,000 from investors. Mm-hmm. And that is like a very simple example. Like, what he needs is right here in front of him.
Yep.
Very simple. But we end up doing all this craziness, right? So, and that's what I'm saying is, it's really falling as a victim to the noise in my head, right? The noise in my head is, I'm not good enough. It's not going to work. I'm not seeing what is in front of me. This is what my parents used to do. I don't have the right experience. I like to do sales. I don't like to do that. How can I build a team? Why would I pay one of my talent guys, $14 an hour instead of $13 an hour, right? I see so many people are really spending months from trying to figure out these things that
doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. It's just falling victim to the noise in your head, right? So that is the big thing.
You can't see the forest through the trees. So, in this, I guess this would be a natural transition, if you will, or an add-on to this commentary. I feel like very few people can objectively look at big problems that they're facing and be okay. And then they can totally see this clear picture. This is, how important is mentorship? How important is a network of individuals that are around you that can help get rid of some of this noise and provide some degree of clarity for you? Super
important. So I'm talking about these things because I've been through it, right? Mm-hmm. I had this noise in my head. I made all these mistakes. I mean, you see, I can share my success stories in basically 40 seconds. But I can spend a month to tell you everything that I've been through and all the mistakes that I made, right? So I've been through it. So when I recognize the noise in my head, I start putting advisors around me, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, who is the people that are a lot more successful that I can bring in to be my advisors? And some I paid and some were like just happy to help. Mm-hmm. And who is 2 steps ahead of me, who is 20 steps ahead of me, who have strength in operation, who have strength in sales. And then I call it my advisory board.
Right.
And every time that I saw that I'm start falling down into this rabbit hole of the noise of my head, I'm like, okay, I'm stopping here. I'm going to make a phone call. I'm going to start writing things down. Now, I don't think people completely need to understand this whole thing. They just need to recognize saying, okay, I have a lot of noise happening in my head, right? We're thinking about 95,000 thoughts every day. 95% of them are the thoughts of yesterday and the day before. So we're basically recycling through the same mess. Mm-hmm. Just recognize that. That will be an amazing first step. And then you said, okay, I understand that this noise is not really helping me. It's just holding me back. That's it. I don't need to understand it. I don't need to get to the point of where this noise is coming from and why is and all that. None of it.
Just see it and identify it and recognize that it's there.
Yes.
What do you do?
And recognize that I'm not going to take advices from this noise. Mm-hmm. Right. So let's go a little bit back for a second. When somebody want to start a business, right? We are at this place of inspiration moment, yes. Right? We have clarity. Okay, I want to go into the restoration business or any other business. I want to build it to $1 million. I feel inspired. I feel great about what I want to do, right? And that moment is when you start capturing, because this is where you are in your real power, mm-hmm. Right? And this moment is very, very important moment. And then after that, there is the other part of you that is exposed to everything that comes out from the external world. So we're going from this place of clarity to the place of, oh, but wait a second, what my wife is going to think, what my friends are going to say about me. Wait a second, there is so much competition in my market. This is what's going on. All these limited beliefs are starting to pile on top of everything. What we need to do is we need to break through it, because we need to recognize this noise is not helping me. It's just the noise of yesterday. And this is the noise of my childhood. This is the noise of my parents drilling in my head that everything is hard and it's limited and I don't deserve it because they never thought that they deserve this success, right? So this is where we start writing things down. And we says, okay, I'm not going to hope to build the business that do $1 million. I'm going to create the business that I want. So how I'm going to create it? So $1 million means I need to get this much leads. My conversion need to be at 40%, for example. My average per job need to be at $4,000. My strength is sales and marketing. I'm going to need help with operation. You start putting things on paper. And then you're saying, okay, to move my business forward this week, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that I'm setting up the right campaign. I'm going to make sure that I'm auditing all my leads. Right? And you start putting a plan and higher level of execution, and you have to stick to it. This is where discipline comes in. A lot of people see discipline. I see discipline as freedom. Mm-hmm. I don't see discipline as something that I put on myself and it's hard and is, structure. I see discipline is the freedom for the noise in my head. Right? Mm-hmm. If I want to build a company for $1 million and I want to have an impact and I want to add a lot of value to my clients, and I'm recognizing this noise in my head is going to stop me from doing it, I'm going to start breaking through it. Mm-hmm. And as you go through the breaking through it, what you're going to start seeing is your self-value will skyrocket, because mm-hmm. suddenly now what you're doing is you're keeping your own promises, mm-hmm. and you're following on your own plan, right? Because the plan came into life because you were in your real power. As a person, I have clarity. I want to build a business. I'm going to show my kids how I'm able to do it. They're going to be proud. I'm going to give them a lot of strength. I'm going to be able to take care of my family. Whatever it is that you want to build, everything is whatever it is, right? 10 million, 1 million, it doesn't really matter. It's a matter of recognizing I'm in my power. I lost my power. We always want to be in a place that I'm in my power, and you want to stay there as much as you can. That's really the biggest reason that people fail in business. I don't really see any other reason. People will come up with reason of, no, AI is now out, or this is happening, or I have competition in my market. And I will say, listen, with all due respect, you want to take your business from $500,000 to $1 million. This an extra $500,000, it's not about competition. Mm-hmm. You are still so small in the market. What do you need? Right. A few more jobs every week? Right. That's where people is getting lost with all of it. Or I just want to do operation. I don't want to go out there and talk to people. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, let's grow up a little bit. You can go through the pain and talk to people. Nothing is going to happen to you. Just push through.
Right.
And I'm not saying now, I'm huge on double down on your strength.
Mm-hmm.
I spend many years of my life of trying to get better at everything.
Right.
Right. I'm more of a vision, strategy, sales. That's more my strength. And so many years I try to spend on, I need to get better in operation. How is it that is not working good for me? And then at one point when I realized, when I heard more of the noise in my head, I'm like, what I'm doing?
Right.
Life is short enough. I want to be in a place that I'm full of, joy, clarity, this power, and I want to start building momentum also, right? When you work with your team and you are in this power place, in this flow, of your team will be like, I want to be with this guy.
Right.
I want to be, whatever this guy is building, I want to be a part of it. So this is all these things will be stacked on top of each other, but people must understand. Don't take advice from this noise. You need to break through on the things that you promise yourself when you're in this place of power. And then it's a natural growth after that. Things will keep getting better and better and better, right? That's another huge part. And tell me to stop if you want to switch the conversation to something else.
Not at all. Not at all. Keep
Nah,
going,
okay,
because
okay.
This is all gold, and I think it's all going in the same direction. My next follow-up question, which I guess you can kind of address now as you continue going, is this is great, and all of these thoughts are great, and the message is amazing. When you're behind your desk, or when you've got a pen and a sheet of paper and you're putting down this perfect vision for your life, right? And then it's easy to say, cut out the noise, focus on your thing. But there's going to be not only noise, sometimes there's arrows, sometimes there's like bullets that are coming at you, and you're going to get hit, and there's pain. And then that pain shocks you, and it shocks a lot of people. How does focusing on your one thing make you more resilient? How do you push through that pain in order to get to your quote unquote, let's call it your happy place, where you can look back and be like, when I was writing down my plan, this is exactly the place that I thought I was going to be at. How do you get there? Yeah.
So as much as you have more compelling goal that you can really connect to, with your heart, with your soul, with your being, right? My goal is to generate X amount of money, or build a company or relationship because I want to be able to send my kids to college, or whatever it is that you want. Always have it in front of you. Don't worry about how you're going to get there. Just have it in front of you. So, and the reason I'm saying it, when you're going to get hit by something, like shit will happen all the time. Things are not working as smooth as we want them to work all the time. And I think it's a gift for us when it's not working as good, because we're just going to get stronger in sitting in our place of power. But when things are falling off, or things are not working well, remind yourself, this is why you're doing it. And this is right now when, the shit hit the fans. This is an opportunity for me to build this muscle of strength and clarity and energy. It's like going to the gym. Would you go to the gym and just keep doing 5 pounds for the next year? No, you're going to go from 5 to 20 to 40 to 50 to 100. So look at life the same way. As you get stronger, life will say, you know what? Let me test Rico now. He's getting stronger, he's getting better. I'm going to throw some things at him. Me throwing things at you, it's my goal is to help you get stronger in this seat of power, right? And this power is not to be powered over people. It's the power of adding value, the power of clarity, the power of building people around you, right? That is the real power that we have as human. I think if people will wake up to the real power that they have, I think that we're going to be living in a completely different world. Right? When
what I love when I hear you speak is your perspective, right? Because there's, when you talk about business, just from a business standpoint, you're like, there's big questions to ask. How big is the market? Is the market saturated? Is it not saturated? How much market share can you get? Does this particular business in this particular area have enough runway as far as profitability? Do I want to be in restoration? Do I want to be doing carpet cleaning? Do I want to be doing grout cleaning? Do I only want to do biohazard? There's all of these questions, right?
Yeah.
And what I genuinely hear when I hear you speak, it's like, it doesn't matter. like I feel almost that me saying that you're in the restoration industry, could almost be perceived as noise as well. Like part of me feels like you don't even really see the restoration industry when you're looking at your business. You're focused on the people that you're serving and who you're becoming as a human being. It just so happens that
Exactly.
you did it through restoration.
Exactly.
So, but here's why I think this is so important, because I think that a lot of us get into the business and then we're like, okay, the business is this and this is what we do. And, we decided to do biohazard, and biohazard is what we do. And, and then eventually you forget that you're actually there just to serve people, and you're more focused on the biohazard or whatever industry it is that you get in. And I think because that's not a real thing, it's just a means to an end. It's the service, it's the trinket that we're selling people. And we'll forget that we're actually serving people. That if we can shift our focus again to that, so like what it's one person helping another person, it's one person helping a series of people.
Yes.
Does that change the dynamic mentally?
Completely, because it's not about, do I go now and do a job for $1,000 if I'm supposed to get $1,200? There is a client that have a need right now, and I want to go and fulfill this need. This is why I exist as a company, to add value to people. And that will also help you take advantage of new opportunities in the market, because you're at the same way, you're not going to be, I'm just doing restoration, I'm just doing carpet cleaning. No, I'm looking for more ways that are within my abilities and my team ability to add more value, right? And when you're staying in that place, when you're not falling into, look, we have to provide, and I'm saying it as a given, an amazing service. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying, if you're in the restoration services, understand the blowers, the humidifiers, understand the trade, provide an amazing service, understand the science around it. I'm not overlooking it. For me, it's a given. Right. At this, if we still need to talk about, if you're in the restoration business, you need to learn how to do restoration work. It's like, okay, I think we're past this part, right?
Right.
Yeah. So So I'm not saying that it's very, very important to know and do things right, 1,000%, right? Because we want to deliver, we want to add value. But at the same time, I understand there is a people in front of me that right now have an issue. If their house is flooded, the air duct is cleaning, whatever it is. My goal is to really understand what is the issue that they're having. And I want to make sure when I'm done, I move their quality of life from here to here.
Right.
And I'll do it, as you said, through restoration, through duct cleaning, through developing a SaaS platform, so doing something else, right? That is the only thing that I have when I look at business. And the second part is, look, it's all people at the end of the day, right? When I'm looking at my team, how can I help my team get better? And when I think about when I want to help them to get better, not necessarily doing better Xactimate. I want them to get better in, learn things as being part of the company that they can take home and have better relationship with their wife and kids and everything else. Mm-hmm. It's very important, because it's a human being in front of me, right? The same way you talked in the beginning about me coming up on your first or second episode and everything else. I love see people being successful. I love when I speak with somebody and I recognize and I see, wow, okay, this guy have a real talent here. It's innate and he's really developing it. I get excited because I think it's beautiful.
Something that I noticed with you, it was like you genuinely feel like fulfillment, like seeing somebody else's success and seeing them, grow in whatever capacity it is or whatever industry it is that there is. Like you're just like a happy guy when it comes to that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, because it's when each one of us, right? So, I'm inspiring him, he's inspiring me. That shows me another way of doing it. Mm-hmm. It's creating this momentum because there is too much of not enoughness, right? If you're going to do good, I'm not going to do good, right? Yes. You're going to take the spotlight from me. Listen, there's enough spotlights. There's enough people that need inspiration. There's enough people that need to look at, my whole view of human being is very different to compare to 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. I see human being as this powerful, beautiful thing, right? So when I see somebody, even when the first time when I talk to you, I'm like, okay, he's doing the right thing. It sounds good. It's clear. I feel like you're in the flow. There is a very nice energy transfer. I'm like, okay, I love it. It's inspiring. It's a beautiful moment to be in.
Right.
And I enjoy this moment.
Being present, being in the moment, enjoying it, taking it all in. Right.
Yeah.
We
talked
as opposed to being concerned about, well, what does this represent? It's funny you should say that. And this just goes to show difference in perspective, not a matter of success, because you are infinitely more successful than this one encounter that I'm going to reference. Reached out to an individual within our industry. Okay. Doesn't own a restoration company. So he's in our industry, but he doesn't own a restoration company. And, it was just me reaching out because it's like, hey, be a guest on the show just so we can talk shop. See, so you get in front of my audience and you can talk. One of the first questions that they said, and this is early on, was like, well, we're trying to figure you out, Rico. What's your angle? And I was like, what? I was like, we just had an off-camera conversation for an hour and you're asking me, and all I said was, let's be a guest. And you're asking me what my angle is? Are you so instead of being there present, how can I help you? How can you help me? How can we create something beautiful and magnificent together? Even if it's a short-lived collaboration, it's still a moment in time, right?
Yeah.
Instead of that, you can tell that comment, what that came from was a limiting belief. It was from lack. It was from then fast forwarding of like, is this person coming to take my market share? Are they looking to creep into my market? It was just, it's such a different dynamic. And you always go back to this almost like singular point, the singularity where you're like, what's your thing? How do I want to show up? Am I showing up the way that the way that I want to, so that I can be my highest self, so that I can be as productive, so that I can show up for my team as much as I possibly can show up for my team, so I can show up for my customer. And I feel like that is a very clear distinction between you and people like you that carry around this kind of energy, where it's almost hard not to be successful if you look at life that way. It doesn't mean that it's always going to be easy.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've had your downfalls.
Absolutely.
You've had these moments of being crazy. But if you have that singularity, it's almost like this core belief. You're like, if I could stick to this, eventually life will just get tired and just give me what I deserve.
Yes. Now, we can take it another step forward. Think about what is success, right? A lot of people saying, once I'm going to reach $1 million or $10 million, whatever it is, my success will be what? I'm going to feel complete. I'm going to feel fulfilled. I'm going to feel great about myself. So you can feel all this feeling without having all the external success. You can reach your success just by understanding who you really are.
Yes. Yes.
You understand?
Jim Carrey, the comedian Jim Carrey, I think puts it best. He goes, I wish, and I believe it's Jim Carrey, where he says, I wish that everybody would have all the riches and all the fame that they could ever dream up, so that they realize that that's not it, that what they're looking for is not there. I think a lot of us entrepreneurs, a lot of us business owners, a lot of us just humans, period, whether, even as a father, because you want to provide for your kids and you want to have, you're like, when I have this and I can do this, I'll be perfectly happy. And what you realize is that you'll find something to be unhappy about unless you have this compass that's kind of guiding you in that right direction.
Yes. So, I said it before as a response that some people will have the success in life. Sometimes you will have the success in life without needing to reach all these big goals and inspiration. What happened, and what I see also from a lot of people, you move from a place of creating what you want and not chasing what you want because you believe it's going to fulfill a hole in you. Mm-hmm. That's a big difference, right? Because in the beginning, I used to have a thought that I need to make a lot of money. This is how I'm going to take care of my family. I'm going to make my parents happy and and I built this whole story. And what I did is I took my feeling of fulfillment and success and I pushed it to the future. Mm-hmm. And the story that I told myself that only when I'm going to reach this thing in the future, I'm going to be able to feel fulfilled and successful. And then when I woke up to this noise in the head, I'm like, hold on, this is just a story of limitation. Why cannot I feel fulfilled right now? Mm-hmm. How can I show up meeting with my team or my wife or whoever it is already full? Why did I create this idea that my happiness and my fulfillment and everything needs to be 10 years in the future?
Right.
Why? It doesn't make sense. But then when the things start to switch around, your level of clarity goes up. Your ability to communicate with the team goes up. People want, that's the one thing. When you're in this place of power, it's going to be a lot easier for you to build a team, because people will feel that energy and says, I don't know what this guy have, but I just want to be there. I want to be part of what this guy is building. And your response to it will be, I'm happy to share. Right? Because I'm not stuck in this place of, well, no. First, I need to reach that goal, because then I'm going to be happy and I'm going to feel great. And only then I'm going to have great relationship. And only then I'm going to be with my kids. And only then you see, we're taking our power in a way. So I think an easy way to think about it. So let's say I have 100% of power in my hands. That is my ability to create the life that I want. And I take piece of the power and I says, you know what? When the market is going to allow me, it's going to happen. I just took some of my power and I gave it to the market. And I say, you know what? When my friends will tell me that I'm the right guy to do what I want to do, I'm going to go and do it. Now I took more power and I gave it to my friends. You know what? I'm going to feel my confidence only when I'm going to reach $1 million in sales. Now I took another piece of my power and I gave it to the $1 million in the future. I end up with no power. What I end up is just reactive to everything around me. It's very hard to build a business this way. You're always in a place of reaction. You're always trying to defend something. So now my goal is really, by saying all that, I'm hoping that the people that listen to it just will take one thing from it. This, whatever you hear 24/7 in your head, is just a noise. And people will say, Idan, it's my thought and you don't understand. I'm like, no. Listen, I understand what you're saying. I've been through it too. And I'm not trying to put anybody down. It's a noise that built based on your past, have zero relationship to the presence in front of you.
Right.
You don't need to understand. I'm not asking you to go and meditate now for years or any of it. None of it. No. I'm just saying, just recognize it. And I understand that you have two parts of you, the place of power and clarity, and I want to create from there. And there's a place of noise that I want to be aware of. I'm not going to try to stop the noise. I'm not going to try to stop my thoughts. I'm just going to recognize there's two parts of me. There's the limitation and there's power and clarity. I want to make power and clarity a much bigger part of my life. And through this place, now I'm going to execute.
I love it.
Now,
so one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, and which is really, what is the one question that you wish, more business owners would ask themselves with regards to what's keeping them from being successful? And you had a really interesting response to that. But before you answer that, let me just take a quick moment to thank our sponsors. Hey, Dominators, most owners with an agent marketer hope that they're getting a return on their investment, but really have no idea how many referrals they're actually getting from individual agencies. You see, agent marketers are not sales professionals. Jerry Edel is a specialist at referral revenue from insurance agents. He started back in the 70s as a restoration technician, and 34 years later ended up as the national sales trainer for one of the largest restoration franchise companies here in the US. And for the past 16 years, he's helped restorers succeed at creating long-term referral revenue from insurance agents. Agent marketers are in-person advertisers. Agent sales professionals are job generators when they actually have a strategy. Who do you have working for you? Do they have the tools that they need to capture the market share that's available to you? This is what I want you to do. I want you to talk to Jerry. Click the link to schedule a free call. Up-level your profitability today. Hey, Dominator, did you know that it takes about 45 days for most contractors to get paid on emergency service jobs? And some contractors report much longer wait times than that. Either way, it's a long time, especially when you start adding in all of the stress that you have to do to keep up with payroll, overhead costs, and everything that goes along with just running a business. Well, One Claim Solutions is an insurance billing specialist that not only gets their clients paid in 32 days on average, but it also improves their profitability And above and beyond that, it also handles all of the communications with the adjusters. One Claim Solutions was actually founded back in 2016. And since then, they've been able to process hundreds of millions of dollars in insurance invoices on behalf of their clients. Listen, you deserve to work with a specialist that has well-trained attorneys as well as staff. And also they have proprietary purpose-built technology with some really rigorous time-proven processes that's needed to deliver a best-in-class insurance billing experience. One Claim Solutions will handle it all so that you can focus on really what matters most, which is running your business. Head on over to oneclaimsolution.com/dominate. Again, that's oneclaimsolution.com/dominate. Book your free consultation today. Hey Dominators, did you know that about 80% of businesses are actually unsellable? This is why you need to let Restoration Brokers of America work with you to ensure that you maximize the value of your business when you decide that it's time for a change. All you have to do is visit sellmyrestorationbusiness.com for more information. You've worked hard to build it. Now let RBA work hard to sell it. Dominators, let's face it, your company will make it or break it on the backs of your estimating team. But if we're honest here for a second, what tools have you actually given them to succeed? The Actionable Profile is the newest tool inside of your estimator's toolbox, or at the very least, it should be. The Actionable Xactimate Profile is a data-driven solution that provides real-time estimating guidance on the fly. It checks for both overages, omissions in your estimates in real time, leading your team to having much more accurate scopes each and every single time that they're writing an estimate. Avoid any kind of potential conflicts with the adjuster and ensure that your estimates include every single warranted line item with the Actionable Xactimate Profile. Get your free demo today. If you head on over to value.getinsights.org/dominate, we've got an amazing offer for you. Again, head on over to value.getinsights.org/dominate and get your free demo today. Are you tired of managing salespeople? And let's be honest, I mean, sometimes you even really feel like you know what you're doing when it comes down to managing a sales team. And this is where Wylander comes in. With over 40 years of sales management experience, they can do it for you. And the best part is they can do it for a fraction of the cost of hiring a full-time sales manager. So listen, do yourself a favor. Call Wylander today and see what a difference a real sales manager can do for your company. And we're back. So before we jumped off on our commercial break, it was, one of the questions was, what should a business owner ask themselves about, what they need in order to, what's preventing them from being successful? And your response was very simple, which was, why do I keep getting stuck? That was the response. Can you unpack that for us and let us know where that thought process comes from?
So it's, for me, it was recognize that I making 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward. Mm-hmm. I didn't reach my goal, so I opened a few other businesses. And I keep going to the same.
More about that. I want to talk a lot more about that. Last time that we had you on the show, we spoke. We spent a lot of time talking about your successes. A lot of time speaking on your successes, and part of that was because you have such an amazing story, right? I mean, you come to the U.S., you're basically dead broke, and you have this amazing story. Next thing, it's like, who doesn't want to have a part of that story, right? Yeah. But then I remember when we were off camera, you were like, man, where I feel a lot more people get value is if I could talk to them about my failures. And I was like, man, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because you've already got a proven success model. Let's go ahead and talk about some of your failures. And so to kind of go along that thought, I'd love for you as you go along to kind of share some of those epic failures that you had in business, because I think a lot of us can relate a lot more to a failure, but it's like, oh shit, I did something similar to that.
Yeah. So I mean, the easiest one is, I wasn't aware of it then, but I feel like I don't deserve the success. Mm-hmm. So every time that I started the business and I reached some level of success, for example, even when I started the carpet cleaning and the restoration business, I figured out how to generate leads through online, right? And I was on a great move upward. And, I started building the team and everything. And then I said, okay, and my success, I said, I went from making, let's say, 50,000 a year to 100,000 a year, right? Mm-hmm. It's a huge deal for me. Mm-hmm. And instead of just keep growing the company and doing the same thing again and again, what I end up doing is okay, you know what? If I have this ability, let me start partnering with other people. And in my head, I had the beautiful story how I'm capable and I have this talent, so I can go and build these other businesses. So and what happened is I partner up with one company, start growing this business. My business went backward. My initial business went smaller now. I said, oh, okay, it's just a matter of thing. I need to just spend a little bit more time back in my business. So I took it back to, let's call it $100,000, right? Then I said, okay, it's back here. Now I'm going to go open 2 other businesses, right? Because I'm talented and I'm great and I figure out these things. This is the story that I have in my head. But when I walk up to this noise, I'm like, wow, instead of just reaching the level of success that I want to reach, I kept stopping myself and listening to the noise of my head that I'm so talented, I'm so good, so I can open 6 other businesses. I found myself a year after have 6 different businesses. None of them is doing really good. I'm making less money. I work triple the amount of hours every day. I have all these partners and all these things, and I'm not getting anywhere, and I'm exhausted. But I'm grinding. Right? And the grinding is what I learned growing in the farm. That's how I grew up. I need to work and work and work.
It's what you know.
And then
it's where you're comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. So then I woke up into it, I was like, okay. And then when I understand that I'm operating based on this noise, I went back and I basically canceled all my partnerships. I says, I went back to each partner and says, listen, the business is yours. I don't care if I'm supposed to get money or not supposed to get money, is yours. And I just cancel it.
And that's a hard decision. That's a hard conversation. It has to come from a place of you paying attention, getting refocused. And that's when that conversation becomes a little bit easier, because typically we don't walk away from things. We'll try to you'll sit there. If you didn't have clarity, you would sit there and you would try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
And I
also want to highlight one other thing that you keep saying. You keep saying noise. I don't think at all you've said negative noise. Because in your head, this noise in this example was, I'm talented, I'm capable, I'm able to do all of these things. Some would interpret that as positive noise. It's positive talk. You're saying that you're talented, but yet it got you away from like your center point.
Oh, listen, our brain in his instincts to protect us will come up with some amazing stories. Right. Amazing stories. Some of them will be, I am the king of the world. This is why I don't need to work hard and I don't need to do this thing. Or I'm so bad and I don't deserve it. It's all the same nonsense. That's what I'm saying. It's not negative or positive. You just need to recognize that this is a noise, right? Some days it's going to come in through different, so many stories. It's actually amazing and so creative. It's a beautiful creative power that we are holding as human beings. It's just you know what? I think there's a saying how it goes. Our mind can be a great servant, but if we use our mind as a master, that we listen to him, then it's going to be a disaster. Right. So if you can take these powerful things that we have as the mind that is very creative and direct it, now you're using it. Right. But if the mind is using you, then we are a mess. Right? Because the mind is going to come with so many great, amazing stories, right? As I just gave examples.
And different approaches. And first it'll try the negative. If not the negative, then the positive. Or, it's very, very creative, right?
Whatever will get your attention. And then you follow the mind. Right.
So I think we were talking off camera about, because recently I've been going through some changes as well. I was kind of like, it's been a while since you and I had spoken. And I was like, just kind of putting you up to date. And I was like, yeah, man, like, I'm thinking this and I'm thinking that, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, man, I finally kind of took a step back one day and I was looking around and I was like, man, I feel like I'm in the matrix, because I was trying to hold this state of being, this thought process. And then I would get the random phone call and I was like, why am I getting this phone call right now? I feel like this is just trying to distract me, or something would come on the radio, or something would happen, or like someone would come in. And I was like, everything almost felt like it was trying to get me off, because I was in that right moment where it's like, oh, you're figuring this stuff out. You're on the right track. We don't want you to figure this out. And I know that this sounds like really like crazy. You're like, hey, this can't possibly be real, but it certainly felt real in that moment. And then when I finally would catch myself being distracted, I was like, oh, there it is. And then I would try to like refocus and like recenter again. So it's
Yeah.
a real thing that if you're paying attention to, I think anybody can detect that in their life.
Absolutely. Just recognize I'm in a place of power, or I got lost to the noise.
Yes.
We want to build the muscle of our internal power and clarity and clean energy. We always want to go back to this place. So every time that something is distracting you, what you need to do is like, thank you for helping me wake up. I'm going to go back now into the place of power and clarity. And this is what I want to create. Right. So just it's the same thing as we talked, is look at it as going to the gym. So you've been working out with a 20 pound for some time, and now we'll call it the universe is throwing a 50 pounds weight at you and says, listen, you're ready for the next step. That's why we're trying to give you a hard time, because we want to make sure that you keep developing the power in staying where you are, right? So that's another thing. And I want to go back, for the people that listen, there's another example of trying to be good at everything. Mm-hmm. That's another big thing that I'm hearing all the time from people. They're trying to be great in sales, in operation, in creating invoices, in doing collection, in doing all that.
It's too much.
It's not only too much, is you putting yourself down instead of just double down on your strength. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I had a call with somebody that every time that he goes out to a meeting to do a local business development, he closes and he brings great accounts in. Mm-hmm. It's clearly his innate abilities, right? He didn't work on it so long. He just have it in him, his ability to relate to people. People trust him. He can connect to people. It's just something that he had. So instead of doing that and developing these skills, I'm not saying once you have an innate skills, it doesn't mean that you stop there. You need to keep developing it, right? Keep getting better at it. But his explanation to me is like, no, Idan, I know that I'm good at it, but listen, I need to do invoicing. I need to do all that in the business. And this is the thing that I have to take care of. I said, okay, I get it. But let's try to look at something differently. If you're going to spend twice the amount of time out there building relationship, how much more revenue can you bring into the business? Oh, Idan, I can bring another $500,000 a year easily. I said, okay, that's good. How much is going to cost you to hire somebody to do the invoicing and the admin part in your business? Well, about $20 an hour. I can get somebody to do it quickly. I says, okay, I'm gonna be quiet now. You do the math. And people usually at this point grab their head and like, what I was thinking until today. Right. I can bring another $500,000 into my business, and I do the things that I love and I'm really good at. But I cannot let go of doing a $20 an hour work in my office. Do you see the craziness?
It's crazy. And
I see it across the board.
We all do it. At some point, yeah.
Right. And that comes from the place of the noise of your head. Because if you ask the person when he's clear and when he's in place of power, make a decision where you want to be. He doesn't need to think about it more than 2 seconds. Of course, I need to be out. I need to build relationship. That is my strength. That's how can I build a company. But when he's a place of listening to the noise, no, Idan, it's invoicing. I need to do it. Right. They're coming up with all these great stories, but when I take them back to the place of power and clarity, oh, I need to be out 2 seconds. Right. And then
let me ask you that, like on this example, right? Because I think that there's a lot of truth, and I think that a lot of people are going to be able to relate to this. In most cases, I have to do this. I have to figure this out. I have to get better at this. Normally, that'll be like the business idea that goes on for 4 months or 4 years, right? It's like, I got to do it. So you kind of have this thing that's hovering over you, but you never really get it done. You say that you want to do it, but it's almost like a barrier. But then when you say, hey, how do you feel when you close these big deals, or when you're out there and you're building relationships? In this particular instance, the guy's like, man, he lights up, and he's like, yeah, this is where I'm happy. You're like, okay, so you're saying that you need to do this and that you have to do it, but it doesn't bring you any happiness or any joy. It doesn't fulfill you in any capacity. You're kind of dreading it in a lot of ways, but yet here you got this other thing that you are naturally good at. Why aren't you doubling down on that and then just outsource or hire or do whatever it is, or figure out a creative way to get that portion done?
Yeah. And I have so many examples of people showing up in their business with not clarity, not enough energy. That's another quick example. Hopefully it can help people. I spoke with a guy, and he's telling me, Idan, listen, it's very, very hard to build a team. I have now 6 people working for me, but they're all very negative all the time. I'm like, now I see human being is this beautiful, powerful thing, right? So I'm like, why they're negative? There's got to be a reason. They're not just negative as an innate thing. Something is happening. He's like, no, Idan, you don't understand. It's the market here, where I am. This is what's going on. It's super. Give me all this beautiful story. I'm like, okay, let's stop here for a second. Tell me exactly what you do when you wake up in the morning, all the way until you get to the office. So he tell me, Idan, are you serious? I'm saying, yeah, I'm very serious. Just break it down for me. I want to know everything. Right. So yeah, I wake up, this is what I do. I drink my coffee, eat something, go to the office. I said, okay, describe what happening when you walk into the office. I say, yeah, the first thing that I do, I want to make sure that my guys are very clean and everything is ready to work. So every mistake that I see, I'm pointing it out. I'm pointing out mistakes.
Right.
I'm like, okay, give me an example. I say I can walk in and then the car is not clean. So I'll tell them about the car. The equipment is not in the right place. My secretary is not doing what you need to do. So I'm putting everybody to make sure that they understand that not to do the things that they do. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, I'm going to be quiet now. I want you now to listen to the answer that you gave me and tell me why your team is negative all the time. And the same response, he's holding his head, is like, wow, it's me. Right. I say, yes, it's you. Because you're pointing out all the negative. What you focus on will grow. So if you focus on all the negative things in your business, what are you expecting your employee to do? Mm-hmm. Your team you are the leader. If we're focusing on negative, let's all focus on negative. And this is a terrible way to go through the day, right? That's not an inspiring way to go and serve client. That is, my boss is about to get into the office. He's going to point out all the things that are wrong all the time. If you want to see more positive things, you need to point out the positive things. If you want to see more negative things, you're going to point out more the negative things. So again, you see a lot of the people, instead of owning their shit,
yeah,
right?
Go ahead. Yeah,
they're blaming everything else. They're always coming from the place of victim,
and it is a lot easier, right? Because that is the easiest thing. It's like, if you could be a victim, it's always a lot easier, right? And again, now 6 of one, half a dozen of another. Like there's certain aspects that are genuinely horrible in life, and bad things do sometimes happen to good people. It happens. Yeah. So we can't be rainbows and unicorn all the time. Like there are bad things, but as a general rule of thumb in the world of business, there's usually a silver lining. There's usually positivity, and you can usually come back and be like, I looked at this wrong, I reacted wrong, or I reacted in a negative way. Yeah.
Exactly. I wanted to say that I will argue with the people with with more of the growth mindset will tell you that the bad things that happen to them are one of the best things that ever happened to them. They didn't recognize it when it happened because everything is just happening to you. But if you have the right mindset, the things that happen to you really happen for you. We end up being better marketers, better copywriters, better bosses, better servers, better whatever, because of these difficult things that happen.
Yes.
It's the same thing as going to the gym. You've been lifting 50 pounds for a year. You know what? It's time to go to 100 pounds. Yes, it's going to be hard in the beginning. It's going to be messy. It's going to be hard.
It's going to burn.
Yeah,
it's going to be horrible. Yeah.
Next level. Yeah. You're going to go to the next level. And I'm really, and your part of clarity and strength will recognize it, that this is a good thing for you. Mm-hmm. Your noise will tell you that this is the worst thing that just happened to you, because the noise is trying to keep you comfortable. Mm-hmm. The noise wants you to keep doing the 50 pound for years because it's safe, it's known, and this is what the brain likes, right? But the power part, the clarity part, want growth, want more, right? I want to express myself more. I want to touch more people. I want to have a bigger impact on my family, kids, community, or whatever it is. This part of you will recognize these difficult things as, thank you, it's time to grow. Right? And I keep going back to these two places because really my only goal, beside the fun that I'm having talking to you, is for people to recognize these two parts. I have the parts in me that is clear, it's power, it's full of beautiful and clear energy. And I have the parts of me that is full of noise and negativity and limitation. I want to operate from this place. Mm-hmm. Right?
Do you think that, or do you suggest that in order for us to have an anchor, if you will, to if there's already not a written plan or a written conversation with yourself, and I'm saying this could be just with yourself that nobody's ever going to read, but just something that when you do feel overwhelmed, you can kind of go back to and be like, in this moment, when I was true to myself, when I was relaxed, when I was really being thoughtful about how I wanted to show up in my business, in my life, for my family, for myself, this is going to be this grounding document. Do you feel that more entrepreneurs and more business owners should have a manifesto of how they need to do, how do they need to show up in life?
Yes, 1,000%. We don't want to hope for a great day. We want to create a great day. Like, listen, I do things as soon as I open my eyes in the morning, before I even get out of bed, I have headphones right next to me. I put them on. There is a 10 minutes meditation that I go through before I even get out of bed. I'm not going to
rituals. Is this a ritual? Because I was actually going to ask you about if you have.
This is what
rituals.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
yeah. So, I'm not. That's the thing. I'm not hoping for things to happen. I want to create the things. I understand that each one of us. I'm not special in any way. Each one of us, we are creating our day. If it's a good day or a bad day, we are creating our day. So I want to make sure that I'm creating the most amazing day. So as soon as I wake up, I have my headphones, I put them on, I play 10 minutes meditation. I wake up, there is a certain movements that I do to wake up my body. I'm not waiting for energy to come to me. I'm creating my energy, right? There is a way that I'm showing up to meetings. I'm not going to show up to meetings with my team all tired or thing. If I am, I'll tell them, listen, guys, today I'm off. I'm not feeling 100%. So I'm going to take more back seat because I don't want to bring half of myself into the meeting. I want to be fully in this meeting, right? I mean, I remember when I recognized this thing, right? So in the beginning, even when I came back home from work and I recognized that I bring the mess from work into my house, and this is not a healthy thing to do. What I used to do before is 5 minutes before I'm getting to my house, I used to shut off the music and I used to do this mantra. I bring love and happiness into my house. I'm happy that my kids are healthy. My wife is healthy. I'm happy that I have a loving house. I'm happy that I'm going to get home and we have food on the table. I will just do it. Repeat. Yeah. And what I recognize, I walk into my house with a completely different energy.
More energized, happier to be there, and almost
appreciate. And I look,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Appreciative, even for like the hard day that you might have had, because I feel most of us, we show up, and I say most of us because I think that is the majority of the public. You're like, oh my god, what a fucking day, and you get home and you sit on the couch and you're like, and you didn't really show up. So in this awkward way, even though it was a rough day, quote unquote, it was a day filled with opportunity for you to get home to this loving place. But you didn't bring that energy. You brought in the negative energy.
Whatever happened in this day, right? If you think about my goal, right? Want to build this company or whatever I want to build because I want to be able to provide. I want to be with my family. I want to be with my kids. I want to be with my friends and everything that I want to do. Now, regardless of what happened today, I have an opportunity. I'm going to be now with my family and kids. I'm going to set up myself in this mindset to recognize it. So if my kids come to me because he's excited and he did something in school that he's very proud of, I can be, listen, daddy's tired, I'm done, I'm sitting on the sofa, I want to grab my beer or wine or anything. I'm going to be in a place of, wow, show me what you did in school today, because I'm here with you right now. I recognize that everything that I did in the past 12 hours, if I look back on my big goal, is to be able to be with you.
Right.
So you are here with me right now. So why not just to recognize it, right? A lot of people talking about balance, right? I want to balance work and family. I don't believe in balance. I believe in being present. I can be 6 hours in my office and 6 hours with my kids. When I'm in my office, I'm always bothered with the noise of my head. I'm always worried. So I never really in my office. I'm lost here in this noise. When I get home, I have 6 hours, but I'm not really with my kids. I'm with my phone and I'm worried and I'm thinking about work and everything. There is a beautiful balance, but there is nothing within this balance because I never here or never there. Now, the other part of it, I can be 12 hours at work and I can be 1 hour with my kids. But this 1 hour, I'm there with them.
Right.
They feel me. I feel them. We are connected. With this 1 hour can be more than 12 hours of somebody else, but he's with their kids and he's just busy about the outside thing.
Right.
So take that example into showing up to a meeting, talking with your team, to anything else. When we are talking to somebody, but I'm completely thinking, let's say I'll have this meeting with you right now, the amazing time that we're having. But in my head somewhere, I'm always going to be worried. I need to make payroll, what they're going to think, what's happening here, I will not going to be able to completely give myself
Right.
to this conversation.
Yep.
And the beautiful thing about life, at least from my own experience, is to get lost in this moment, is to be so involved in this moment that is right in front of me that the rest of life just disappear. And this becomes such a beautiful, meaningful moment. And this is success, right? So when you have this type of success, you're going to see that everything else just start falling into place because you are just so involved with everything in front of you. You're going to create the best podcast, the best conversation. You're going to have so much fun because I'm here with you.
Yeah,
right.
So in the moment, you're giving everything that you have, and just kind of go back to that like previous example of you showing up at the house. Like in my mind, like when you're saying that, like the first thing that I like envisioned is, you know, if you go back to your overall game plan that day, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, it's just another brick that you put down for the day, another brick that you put down as you're building your empire. Like that, in a lot of ways, that is kind of positive, right? Like that is a positive thing. It's like you got another one in the books. Did you try to move the needle? Did you get punched and, you know, now you're up against the ropes? Yeah, maybe, whatever the case, but that is yet another victory. You did the labor, you put the brick down, and now you're on your way to, you know, next day, re-energized, you start to get, you know, you get an opportunity to do it over again.
Yeah. You know, and I think I'm saying it just because of I know it's a lot harder to do than, you know, saying it, right? To be in this place of power and all that. But I think once you realize it, things become much simple in life. Life are really, there is a game to it. Right. And a lot of people, and when I'm saying it, a lot of people, I think it's important to bring it up. A lot of people will tell me, oh, Idan, it's easier for you now to say it because of the success and, you know, everything is working well for you. It says, no, exactly the opposite. Yeah, exactly the opposite. First, I realized these things, then my success came into place. Right. So when I woke up to this noise, when I'm saying, okay, I'm going to spend more time in this place of conviction, clarity, power, clear, whatever is in front of me right now. I'm aware of the noise, but I'm not going to fall into this noise. Everything around me start growing because that was part of my experience. People start saying like, okay, I want to be part of whatever you do. I met with clients and clients will be like, listen, I know that we call you for the water damage and everything, but just having you in our house, we already feel a lot better. Right. We want you to work with our friends. We want you to make an introduction. With that mindset, right? So before that mindset, for example, I'll go and I'll meet with the property manager, for example. And I used to be, look, this is what we do. This is how good we are. We have blowers, dehumidifiers, and and pitch, and try to win the business. When I woke up more to this mindset, and again, it's a very long journey. I stopped selling. Right. There's nothing for me to sell. The only thing I did is like, how can I help this person, regardless of the restoration work? How can I help him be more successful? So I will ask question. What's your goal with the company? Like, what are you trying to achieve? Oh, Idan, I want to go from managing a 10 building to 30 building. Okay, cool. What's stopping you? Like, what's going on? How can somebody go from 10 to 30? Right. So my entire conversation with him was all about him.
What? Yeah. Yeah.
How can I help you?
Like, it wasn't about you selling the product. It was a human-to-human connection.
Human-to-human connection. And when this connection happened, then it's not anymore about, are you charging $13 a blower or $14 a blower?
Right. Yeah.
It was more, we want to talk because when we talk, there's something is happening there, right? We both growing out of the conversation, right? And I actually saw people, I used to, Another thing I used to do is if I realize that somebody want to go, for example, managing a building of 10 apartment to 50, I will go home and look for ways for how managers can get better in their work and what usually the process that they need to go to go from 10 apartment to 30. And I will send them the information. And I say, hey man, I thought about you, because I'm curious about how really this world works. I found some great article. What do you think about them? So you see, zero sales.
Right. But a connection.
And that's with
but
what?
A deep connection.
It's all about
because
it.
Now, if I, in passing, if I'm like, man, this is really important to me, and all of a sudden you're like, you come back a day or two later and you're like, hey, Rico, I found this thing. I was thinking about what you said. Well, first of all, you were thinking about something that I said. Let's just stop it right there. Like that in and of itself. I was like, wait, hold on. You were thinking about, cool. Number one, I feel good about me because clearly I made enough of an impression on you for you to remember that I said this thing that had nothing to do with like why you were actually there. And then on top of that, you're like, hey, by the way, and I took the time to do this. I found this. Let me know what your thoughts are. I think like if that's not the basis of human connection, I just don't know what is.
Exactly. That's exactly it. That's the basic of human connection. We that's the way we're approaching. Now take it to your team, right? If you have somebody working for your team, I can look at him as he's employee, just do 1, 2, 3, 4 every day, and that's it. Or I can look at him as, okay, this is a person that came, now he's part of the company. Over time, I recognize his strengths and weaknesses. I have a conversation with him about it, and I'm helping him to double down and really set him up for success. Right. And I'm having this conversation with him. And then not only about his success within the business, now I'm talking about I'm trying to bring up things that will help him to be more successful at home.
Right.
Right? How to be more patient, how to have more clarity, how to look at his relationship. And how can I share with him some of my experience that he can take home now and do all these things. So you see, we are too often, I think, overlooking this, as you said it, basic, beautiful things that are right in front of us, that when we really think about it, that's what makes us happy and fulfilled.
Right.
And it's right there in front of us. But what we do instead of it? No. When I'm going to reach the $10 million, then it's going to happen. We keep pushing it to the future when it's right there.
When it's right here, right? And one of the beautiful things that I really enjoy about this particular conversation that we're having, because the name of our show, Restoration Domination, you're in the restoration industry, I'm in the restoration industry, and we haven't spoken about project managers, we haven't spoken about insurance billing, we haven't spoken about marketing, we haven't spoken about anything other than the entrepreneur's mindset and just about getting clarity. But that one thing, that can be applied in every other area of the marketplace. And I know that a lot of us want, how can I say this, tactical advice. We want, hey, step 1, step 2, step 3, and this is how you can go ahead and achieve the goal, right? But a lot of us already have that roadmap. A lot of us already, we have the books, we read the books, we've heard the interviews, we've done all of this, and we know what step 1, step 2, step 3. All you got to do, go onto YouTube. If you have a question, go on, how to build $100 million business. There are people right now that have either written books on it and literally have given you the roadmap. And we're like, but our mindset isn't right. So It's not a matter of tactics. It's a matter of mindset. So what do you do from a meditative standpoint, a ritual standpoint, in order to make sure that you're constantly going back to that center point so that you can deliver what you said you were going to deliver?
Yeah. So any person that listens to us right now knows what get him back into this power, clarity, I place. Every person knows it. There is a song, there is a smell, there is a person that you talk to, there is a walk, there is a workout. Everybody knows what get them to this place. It's just making that into the highest priority, right? When people look at when people really understand the power that they have, it's amazing, but they're putting it as a secondary, because first I have to do my to-do list, and then I'm going to get to take care of myself. No, everything comes out of you. You put yourself in the best position possible, and everything that you need to do will be so much easier and smoother, and you have such a much bigger impact. So every time that you, I mean, for example, there's a certain things that I do as soon as I wake up. There's a thing that I do. So, for example, after the meeting that will after this session, before the next meeting, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do like a 5 minutes quick workout, or I'm gonna listen to a song that I know that bring my energy back up, right? Because I know that everything that comes out of me is from the energy that I'm holding. So if I'm down and I'm tired, and then I have a meeting with the marketing team, guess what? Everything is gonna look exhausting to me.
Right.
Oh, this project is going to be so long to do. Who is going to do it? Why we need to do it right now? Listening is not going to work. What are you thinking to yourself? This is low energy speaking. High energy. Whoa, I recognize the opportunity. Listen, this is really can move us to the next step. This thing that looks like a headache and it's going to take us two days to do, you know what? I'm going to jump in and do it. You see,
Man,
two different.
This is amazing. This is amazing because I know that I've personally, I can remember situations where I didn't show up with that positive mindset, where I was just ready to tell somebody to go take a hike instead of being really, really present. And it was a good opportunity, or it was a good, it could have been a great meeting, but it wasn't because I didn't show up in the right place. And I think that anybody listening or watching, I think we could all relate, where if we just would have taken a step back and be like, okay, let me, what's my goal? What am I really here to do? And then you show up in your best, situation, the project all of a sudden doesn't seem so daunting. You're like, what are we going to do to figure this out? Right. Yeah. And it's all about just getting that energy up. And the mindset is everything, right? That perspective changes the direction of your life, no matter what industry you're in.
Everything. And it's the different is it's so big. I mean, the people that I know that did the work and kind of got this noise power thing, their life changed from, I mean, some of the people making $100,000 a year to making $1 million a year. They never dreamed that they can get to these numbers. Okay, so we can say that I have money example, I have relationship example, I have health examples, I have so many different examples. But it's only when the person understands that, okay, there's two parts of me: noise, limitation, power and clarity. I want to spend more time in power and clarity. That's it. The technical part, look, as you said, everything is available. I mean, there's so many people that you just need to make sure that you listen to the right people, because there's a lot of advices on YouTube today.
Right.
So it's important to make sure that you listen to somebody that actually walk the walk, right? Have the experience, not just talk about it because you read a book and try to get more followers. So just like as a side note, but everything that you want is right there. The problem is when I'm in my limited mindset, right? And I didn't put myself in the right place, I'm just going to be reactive and I'm going to listen to everything that is out there and I'm going to take my power and spread it all over the place. But if I'm clear and I have a plan and I have a vision, I have something that I want to work out there, you're going to find all the information that you need. And the crazy part, in the same way that I responded to you, there's so many successful people out there that will be very happy to help and work with people that are trying to make it happen. Because at one point you wake up and you say there's enough for everybody.
Yeah, there definitely is.
And it's fun. It's fun to see people that really want to be successful. I mean, for me, it's like, it's amazing. As we said in the beginning, I love to see people through that. I was blessed with finding the right advisors. I was blessed with, I partner up with another platform that I created a while ago. And one of the kind of the investors that came in, we connected very, very well. And we met on a weekly basis. And he was, I mean, I had some situation that I'm sitting in a restaurant with people know me and stuff like that. And he's like, Idan, are you fucking stupid? How do you think about it? And I'm like, how he's yelling at me like that? But that was one of the biggest gifts that I ever got, because somebody was with me there, supporting me, holding a bigger vision of myself than I was be able to see. So when he told me, are you stupid, or what's going on with you, or you're not seeing it, he came in with a place of really want to help, not putting me down in any way. It's like when I look at somebody and says, listen, I understand that today your goal is right here, but when I talk to you, I see this possibility in you.
Right.
So I'm going to shake you up a little bit, not from a place of putting you down. I want to shake up a little bit because I recognize that you are really listening to this limited, to this noise. So it's very, very important to find the right people around you. But it's more important, be in this place of clarity, be in this place of power than everything. I know that it's easy for me to say it, but at one point, you're really going to start recognize that the best step forward and what I need to do is right here in front of me. And it's not that complicated, right? And yes, if things happen and it's becoming hard, nothing promised me that, I can lose everything tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen. None of us know. Like, we didn't know that COVID will happen. We didn't know that the market crashed.
I guess here's a great question. At least so I think. If you lost everything tomorrow, because let's pretend that we had something worse than COVID, are you still successful?
Yeah.
100%. Whereas,
yeah.
So whereas, and the reason why I think that's a very interesting perspective, right? Because I think that if a lot of people lost their business today, for whatever reason, lost their business, lost their identity, they're just a new human being. They were like, I'm not successful. Who am I? What am I doing? Right? And the mindset, that anchor, that compass, call it what you will, that clarity of who you are and how you're showing up, and how you're showing up for your family, your friends, and your coworkers, and how you're showing up to yourself, right? How you're talking to yourself. A lot of that is success really starts in the morning. Like when you woke up, how did you start addressing yourself? Did you bring in yesterday's bullshit into today? Right. And I think if you can say, if I lost everything today, and if I had to start over, am I still a successful individual because I'm happy with how I'm showing up? I think that should be the goal for any human being.
Yeah. I don't want to sound too abstract but for us as a society, let's go there. For us as a society, to measure success based on how much money you have in the bank account, it's seriously crazy. It's insane. And I'm saying it as somebody that is in business. It's insane. When I go to school, even with my kids in school, when they measure a kid, a human being, basis on his ability to score 100 on a math test or able to write sentences, I think it's part of the progression that we're going through as a society, as human beings, as we understand, especially with AIs coming in today, is going to free us more to really do what we're supposed to do as human beings. And we're not supposed to be able to remember history by heart, right? Or I'm not going to be measure of how good I spell a sentence, because there's so much more that we bring in. The level of creativity, the connection, the depth of experience. This is what being human being is all about. That's what separates us from everything else on this planet. So defining success by how much money you have, it's insanity. Defining success by your ability to enjoy every moment, absolutely.
I love it.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
I always go back to, I don't know. I know that there's like this story, this like kind of like, fable type of thing where it's like, I think it's like and I don't know it too well, but I know it's basically the storyline is something along the lines of like, this American businessman who's on vacation in like a fishing village in like Costa Rica or something. And he like sees that this guy's, bringing in X amount of fish, and the businessman that comes in and he's like, presents his entire business plan. Is like, and you can make all this money and you can do this and you can do that. And when you work 20, 30, 40 years, you can go ahead and sell the company. And then like the simple like villagers like, well, what do I do then? He goes, well, then you can just like hang out by the beach, fish, and drink beer with your friends. And it's like, but that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Right? And I always go back to that, because I think about that quite often. I'm like, ooh, wait, hold on. What are we doing sometimes? Are we chasing the money? Are we chasing the cloud? Are we chasing, hey, how much revenue did you do this year? Oh, I did X amount of revenue. I'm bigger than you. I'm smaller than you. I'm trying to catch up to you. And I'm not saying that there's something wrong with friendly competition. No. I think that there's actually, as a man, I think that there's actually something quite healthy about that. As a matter of fact, there's scientific studies that have been shown that if you put a high producing individual in regardless of the field, and then you get a lower producing, this guy who's lower will actually like bump up like 15%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that there's like really good studies on that, but ultimately keeping your eye on the prize of like, okay, my happiness, my clarity, how I'm showing up, how I'm showing up for my community, my family, and everything else. And then if you're on the entrepreneurial path, which of course, if you're a dominator, you're already listening, you are in fact an entrepreneur. Now you take this and you instill this in your employees, in your team members, in, you know, the transactions that you're having on a day to day. And that's the beginning. Like that's the main building block for building a successful business. Would you say?
Yeah, again, I agree with you. It's money is great, right? It's give us freedom to create more, to be more, to share more, to do everything that we want to do. So I'm not putting making money down in any way.
It's
It
important.
it's secondary. It's not first, right? And I think I wrote like a mini book or something about it. It's the way we think, is the way we're conditioned to think, is right. It's not being and then doing and then having. It's usually we are what I want to have, and based on that, I'm going to think what I need to do, and being myself will be at the end. Right? So we're doing it exactly the opposite. We're not thinking of, first of all, can I be with myself? I recognize who I am. I'm feeling comfortable with my strength and my weaknesses, and I'm good with just being. And then once I recognize my strength and what I want to do and my inspiration, I'm going to go into start doing it, into start sharing it. And then having will be a happening as a result of it. Right? As we said, if I'm taking care of myself, and then I'm going to show up the right way, everything around me will grow because I'm coming with a very clear intention, and I'm in the moment. The having will come, and the having is a beautiful thing to have. The house, the play, whatever you want to have, right?
Yeah.
The problem is that we're starting from the end. Yeah. So when we ask kids, not who you are, not what you're good at, what you want to do, we asking our kids what you want to be. And the kids will say, oh, I know that a doctor or programmer or entrepreneur will make $1 million a year. So we're starting, but I want to have. And to have that, I'm going to have to do this.
Right.
And this is where the suffering starts, right? Because the doing is based on how much money you want to make. The doing is not based on who you are. And this is where people getting the friction of, I'm doing it, but I'm not happy, and who I am, and I'm trying to find my purpose, and we're asking these complicated questions about life. And the only reason we're asking this question because we're doing things that are based on what we want to have, not based on who we are as people. So we need to start shifting things.
So do you honestly believe that, because this is what I'm hearing, do you honestly believe that you can achieve more if you concentrated more on just who you are? So I don't want to say forget about your goal. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying forget about your goal, but don't give so much importance to the goal, and just recognize that because again, life can go in many directions. Maybe you could be the best version of you and never hit the goal that you originally put down on paper. It can happen for whatever reason, right? But do you think that you put yourself in a better opportunity to achieve those goals if you just concentrate on you, who you are, and how you're showing up in the world?
1,000%.
Regardless of the industry.
Regardless, 1,000%. I've no doubts. That's why for me, life starts from within, not out there, from within. Now, it wasn't like that all the time. As I told you, I went through the process. I thought I was exactly I need to have, and I'll do whatever I need to do, and I need to be good at everything. I play this game, and I recognize that there's something else, that if you don't recognize it, that just being you, you showing up as you, doing this podcast, that is a beautiful thing. And as much as you're going to be more you, the listener will relate to you more. Will say, you know what, this guy is real. He's really opening his heart. He's really sharing his thing. He's really having an open conversation. I will relate to you more, right? You're not going to talk about things that you don't know anything about. You don't need to prove yourself to anybody. You can just feel comfortable and be who you are. And more people want to have this feeling. Like, wow, how this guy is just comfortable being in his own skin with his greatness, and then with these things that are terrible about him, right?
And being able to
everything is fine because this is who I am. This is what it is. This is what you're gonna get. This is the only thing that I promise you, that I'll do my best to work on me to show up to the best version of me that I can. I cannot be anybody else.
I love it.
So when you start acting that way as a person, then what happened? More people going to listen to you, more people going to relate to you, more people going to want to have a piece of what you have. Because I want to feel comfortable in my skin the way Rico is feeling comfortable in his skin. What do I need to do? You know what? I'm going to listen to Rico, because he's telling, it's not even the words that he's saying to me, it's the energy that he brings up into the room. It's like, okay, so then by being you and have more clarity in life, things become a lot easier. And then the goals, you know, I'm not really jumping, but there's one wise man that says that I hope that none of your goals will come true. Mm-hmm. And the reason he's saying it, because your goals are being set up from a limited self sometime, right? They only come up as a point of reference for what you knew in the past. Yep. So that's why I'm saying, don't even be so focused on your goals. Have a vision of where you want life to be, but have that vision more as a place for you to work on yourself, right? So when we go out there and we go through this hard time, we'll call it hard time for this conversation, what we discover? We discover more of who we are, right? When I served in the Israeli army, we had some parts of week or 2 weeks that we did things that I never believed that I can do. And I had moments that I really got to know myself, right? Me with myself with, 120 pounds on my back, looking at the mountain, and I have zero energy in me, zero. There's nothing in me, there's no cell in my body that thinks that we can go out there. Everything in me screams, sit down on the floor, put the bag down, and we are going home, we are done. But then, these moments, you discover that you have something extra in you.
Right.
And then 5 hours after, you're on top of the mountain. So there is two ways to describe this moment. One, this moment that defined my life where I gave up. And this is where I said enough. And I gave up to the noise of my head. That's one way to talk about this moment. The other side of this moment is, this is where I learned that I have so much more in me that I don't know how to access yet. Right. But this extra thing in me is what got me to climb another 5 hours. So now I know when I'm going through a hard time in the business or anything else, I know that there's a lot more in me. So I get to know myself better.
Yep.
Right? And this magical moment when shit happened there's so many stories around the world about that, right? That parents that lost kids and families that lost families, and then many families just gave up and you don't hear anything about them. And then there's some families that the mom woke up and says, you know what? Enough is enough. Whatever happened to me, it's woke up a power in me. And I'm going to go and I'm going to speak now to every school in the country. Yeah. And usually these people go and change the rules and change the way we see things. All families went through the same experience.
But it's
just
how
one
they
person
reacted to it, and how they reacted to it, and then those are the people. And again, that I think that example goes in so many different directions. That moment of hardship, and then the majority of the population gets shut down. But the rest of us that look at that, we're like, and see the small portion of the population that decided to change the story and say, this is my victory moment. We all appreciate those stories. Those are the stories that we enjoy. We listen to the TED Talks. We buy the books about those stories. We watch the movies about those stories, right? And that story could have ended. It could have never started if they would have just given up, and we would have never heard about, some of these great people of history, right?
Yes. And I think we all relate to these stories and we connect to them and we love them because each one of us know that we have it within us. We all do. Listen,
whether or not we tap into it is a different story, but it's there, and we all know that it's there. That's why, know it's there. If you're watching a movie, because again, a lot of Hollywood movies are based around something similar to this, right? Yeah. So that totally makes sense. Now, obviously, we've been here for a while, and I really do appreciate your time. I want to give all the dominators out there. access to where they can go ahead and learn more about you, because obviously you've written some books, you've also put together some training materials as well. So where can someone go ahead and find that, learn more about you, and learn more about this overall mindset, and how to get out of the truck and things like that? Do you have a website that they can go to?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's getoutofthetruck.life, not .com, .life. And there's also many, so there's, you see, the .life is more of the holistic approach to it, right? That's what I'm trying to bring out. And yeah, there's, from the website, you can find, there's a lot of videos and stuff like that. You see, and a lot of the things that I created, it was to break through my own fears, right? So a lot of it is a result of, for me, years ago, to be in front of the camera and speak, and I'm like, there's no way, this is not, I was scared, I was scared of this part of me. It was scary for me. Right. But then I said, okay, but when I'm really with myself, right? And I'm giving that example because it's real. I'm not saying it because I read it in the book. I'm giving a real example that this is where life can play out, right? So there was a moment of inspiration. Maybe I can share more. Maybe I can, the same way that other people help me and sometimes, hit me on the head to get me on the right thing. I say, how can I add more value to other people? Oh, I can write things. And my thought was the noise of my head. Idan, you cannot write. Okay, I can make some video. The write on my nose. You on video, Israeli with the accent and here and there, it's not going to happen. What I did, I just followed this inspiration, right? And the results of today, we have all these videos, and slowly, there's a small community that's being built of Get Out of the Truck, of people that really try to push on and take their execution to the next level. So I know that you asked me for a website and I give you the whole story, but this is the same thing that we talk about. I'm just going through it the same way that every other person is going through it. I just recognize noise, power. I choose power.
I love it, man. And I think we're going to go ahead and end on that note. And again, Idan, man, thank you so much for joining us again here today. I've been looking forward to this episode for quite some time because I knew we were approaching episode 100. I was like, I want Idan to be 100. I don't know why, because it's so arbitrary, but for me, it felt like a milestone. And I was like, if I'm going to celebrate it with any one of my guests, I want to go ahead and celebrate it with Idan. So thank you so much for jumping on this episode with us. And Dominators, make sure that you check out the video description and the show notes below. I'm going to leave a link to Idan's link and all of his contact information, as well as our previous episode, if you want to go ahead and show us some love on there. And as always, I will catch you on the next one. But meanwhile, hustle, hack, dominate. Catch you soon. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Restoration Domination, your #1 resource for tips, tricks, and hacks to help your business grow. Subscribe to our channel and follow us for more Restoration Domination. And follow our host at Rico Garcia Jr. on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Till next time, this is Restoration Domination. Hustle, hack, dominate.